By all appearances, my life should have been the envy of anyone looking in from the outside. I was Dr. Samuel Hart, 38 years old, a respected surgeon at St. Mary's Hospital. The house Evelyn and I shared in the suburbs looked like something pulled from the glossy pages of a magazine. White siding, flower boxes under the windows, a neat little porch where she liked to drink her tea in the mornings. People often told me I was lucky. Lucky to have a stable career. Lucky to have found a woman as graceful as Evelyn. Lucky to live in a neighborhood where the sound of lawn mowers and laughter from children replaced the chaos I dealt with in operating rooms. For years, I believed that, or maybe I wanted to. But perfect lives are only perfect until you start listening for the small fractures. At first, they were things I brushed aside. Evelyn had begun canceling dinners we planned with friends, claiming headaches or fatigue. She seemed more distant, her smile tighter as if it took effort to show it at all. I chalked it up to stress. She'd never adjusted fully to the long hours my work demanded. Then came the night she arrived home late. It was a Thursday, near midnight, when I heard the door creak open. I was in the living room, half dozing, with a medical journal in my lap. Evelyn stepped inside, her hair slightly disheveled, her navy dress wrinkled, a smear of something dark on the hem that could have been dirt. She froze when she saw me awake. "You scared me," she whispered, pressing a hand to her chest. "I thought you said the book club ended at 9, I said, closing the journal. Her eyes darted away for a moment before returning to mine. "We stayed late. Wine, too much gossip, I lost track of time." Her voice carried its usual softness, but there was a tremor underneath I couldn't ignore. She set her purse down quickly, almost too quickly, as though eager to move past the conversation. Wanted to press her, to ask why her makeup was smudged, why she looked like she'd been anywhere but at a book club. Instead, I swallowed the questions and nodded. "Next time, call me, I was worried." She leaned down, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "I will," but she didn't look me in the eye. That night as I lay beside her, the glow of the street lamp, casting faint lines across our bedroom walls, I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. I told myself marriages had ebbs and flows, that doubt was poison best ignored. Evelyn had been my anchor for years, the woman who saw past the scrubs and exhaustion, who reminded me I was more than the lives I saved or lost. Yet something had shifted. I couldn't name it, but it was there. An unease curling in the shadows, whispering that the life I thought was perfect might not be mine at all. And when I closed my eyes, the image of her rumpled dress lingered like a stain I couldn't scrub away. The unease from that late Thursday never truly left me. It hovered in small ways. Evelyn's phone buzzing with messages she never read in front of me. Her sudden trips to the store for things we didn't seem to need. The way her laughter sounded forced when we were around friends. I told myself I was imagining it. After all, surgeons are trained to see patterns others miss, to anticipate disasters before they happen. Maybe I was applying that same hypervigilance to my marriage. One rainy Saturday morning, I was searching for old tacks, files I'd tucked away years ago. Evelyn was out running errands. I climbed into the attic, flashlight in hand, dust thick in the air. Our attic wasn't one of those neat labeled storage kind of spaces. It was cluttered with boxes from college, medical journals I'd never read again, and holiday decorations we only dragged out once a year. But tucked behind a stack of cardboard near the far wall, I saw something that didn't belong. A crib. It was small, pale white, with delicate bars that gleamed as if it had been recently polished. Around it were bags, diapers, folded onesies still with tags, baby bottles lined up in a row. My heart clenched. Evelyn and I had spoken about children, but always in the vague, someday way. She'd said we should wait until my schedule. Calm down, until we traveled more, until the house felt fuller with memories. Never once had she suggested we were preparing for a baby now. I knelt beside the crib, my hands trembling as I touched the soft blanket draped over its side. It smelled faintly of lavender. New. Used. I couldn't tell. When Evelyn came home, I confronted her. "Evelyn," I said, trying to steady my voice. "Why is there a crib in the attic?" Her eyes widened. just for a second before she laughed, lightly. "You scared me. It's for the future, Sam. I thought it would be a nice surprise, something to give us hope." Her tone was casual, but her hands twisted together nervously. "The future?" I asked. "Then why hide it? Why not tell me?" "Because you'd overthink it like you always do." She stepped closer, her gaze sharpening. "You work 80 hours a week. You barely sleep. The last thing you need is me nagging you about children. So I kept it to myself. Is that such a crime?" Her words cut deeper than I expected. She was right about my hours, about my exhaustion. Still, something about her explanation felt too neat, too practiced. "You could have just told." "Me?" I murmured. She reached out, touching my arm. "Sam, you're imagining things again. Don't turn this into something it's not, please." The softness in her eyes almost convinced me. Almost. I nodded, letting it drop, though inside my chest the unease grew heavier. That night, as she curled against me in bed, I could still see the crib, the folded clothes, the bottles arranged like someone had been using them. Her words told me I was paranoid. My gut told me otherwise, and it was the gut feeling that stayed with me, like smoke in my lungs, choking me slowly with every passing day. The image of the crib refused to leave me. At work, in the operating room, I saw it every time I blinked. The pale bars, the neatly folded onesies, the bottles waiting in line like soldiers. Evelyn's explanation echoed in my head, but instead of soothing me, it deepened the hollow pit in my stomach. I told myself I was being obsessive, but the suspicion gnawed at me like a splinter. And when doubt takes root, every action, every word, every silence becomes evidence. One evening, Evelyn was in the shower when I went to put away laundry. I opened her dresser drawer, something I'd never done before. Beneath silk scarves and neatly folded blouses, an envelope peeked out. I knew I shouldn't, but my hand moved before my mind caught up. Inside was a black and white ultrasound photo. I froze. A small grainy image of a fetus glowed from the film, its curled shape unmistakable. At the bottom, printed clearly, was a date. Not months ago, not even close. Just 3 weeks earlier. My pulse hammered in my ears. Evelyn had said the crib was for the future, yet here was proof of something present, something hidden. I slipped the photo back and closed the drawer, my hands shaking. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I waited, watching her more closely, noting every sigh, every glance she avoided. But the weight of the photo burned in my pocket of memory, and eventually, it was too much to carry alone. That night, as we sat at the kitchen table eating dinner in silence, I pushed my plate away. "Evelyn," I said quietly, "why do you have an ultrasound photo in your drawer?" The fork slipped from her hand and clattered against the plate, her face drained of color. For a long moment she didn't move, didn't speak. Then tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't want you to find that," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Then tell me what it means." Her shoulders shook as she buried her face in her hands. "I was pregnant, Sam, months ago. I lost it. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought it would break you. I kept the photo because it was all I had left." Her sobs seemed raw, real. Guilt pricked me. Had I been too harsh? Had I overlooked her grief in my obsession with the truth? But then, through the haze of her confession, the detail struck again like a knife. The date. 3 weeks ago. I stared at her, my throat dry. "When exactly did you lose the baby?" She hesitated. Too long, then murmured, "Months ago, around the spring." A lie. I knew it now with a clarity sharper than any scalpel. I nodded slowly, pretending to believe her, but inside the seed of doubt grew into something darker. If she was hiding this, what else was she hiding? That night, as she wept softly beside me in bed, I lay awake, eyes open to the dark, haunted by the ultrasound's silent truth. And soon, I would discover there was more than just a photo she was keeping from me. After the ultrasound photo, nothing Evelyn said could settle the storm inside me. She wept. She clung to me. She told me I was imagining ghosts. But every time I closed my eyes, The date on that scan flared behind my eyelids. 3 weeks ago. Not spring. Not months ago. Her lies began to move in patterns, subtle but unmistakable. She would slip out late, claiming a grocery run though the fridge was full. She lingered on phone calls I wasn't meant to overhear. Her voice hushed, her tone urgent. One night, when she said she was visiting a neighbor, I followed. I told myself it was wrong, that I was becoming the very paranoid man she accused me of being. Yet the truth had become a fever, and the only cure was to know. She drove across town, past the bright streets and polished cafes, into a neighborhood I wouldn't have expected her to set foot in. The houses sagged under peeling paint. The streetlights flickered and trash rustled in the gutters. I parked a block away, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles whitened. Evelyn stopped in front of a run-down brick building. She glanced around, pulling her coat tighter, then slipped inside. I waited. 5 minutes, 10. My chest burned with the weight of not knowing. Finally, I stepped out, keeping to the shadows. The building's windows were old, their curtains thin. On the second floor, light spilled through a crack. I edged closer, heart thudding. And then I saw her, Evelyn, cradling a baby in her arms. The child was small, wrapped in a yellow blanket, its tiny hand curled against her chest. She rocked it gently, whispering words I couldn't hear. The sight pierced through me, tender, maternal, intimate, and devastating. We had no children. She had told me she miscarried. She had sworn it was all in the past, yet here she was, holding a child alive, breathing, impossibly real. I staggered back, the world tilting under my feet. The alley spun, the cool night air turned suffocating. My mind clawed for explanations. Adoption? A friend's baby? But even as the questions rose, the truth pressed harder. She hadn't lost anything. She had hidden it. When she finally left the building, she carried only her purse. The baby stayed behind. She walked to her car, checked her reflection in the side mirror, and drove away as if nothing had happened. I stayed rooted to the spot, staring at that cracked window where shadows now moved. The perfect life, I thought, I had was already gone. What I'd seen tonight shattered what little trust remained, and I knew one thing with terrible certainty. The baby in Evelyn's arms could not be mine. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Evelyn's soft breathing beside me, a cruel reminder of the secret she carried. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her in that dim apartment, rocking a baby that by every measure could not have been mine. By morning, the anger hardened. I couldn't play the role of the oblivious husband anymore. Over breakfast, I pushed my untouched coffee aside. "Evelyn," I said, steady but sharp, "I saw you last night." Her fork froze midair. "What?" "In the apartment building," I continued. "With the baby." For a moment, her face was blank, pale as porcelain. Then her lips trembled. "Sam, please, you don't lie to me," I snapped. My voice cracked, louder than I meant, but the dam had burst. "That child, whose is it?" Tears filled her eyes, spilling over as she shook her head. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand," I said, leaning forward, every word heavy with betrayal. "You tell me you miscarried. You tell me I'm imagining things. And then I see you holding a child you never told me about. Is it mine?" Her sob broke through the kitchen silence, raw and unguarded. "No," she whispered. "The baby isn't yours." The air seemed to collapse around me. My heart pounded like it was trying to escape my chest. I stood, gripping the edge of the table. "Then whose?" She buried her face in her hands. "I can't tell you. Not now. It would put him in danger. Put all of us in danger. Danger." The word clanged in my skull, absurd and terrifying all at once. "You're hiding a baby that isn't mine, Evelyn, and you expect me to accept that without an explanation?" "I'm protecting him," she cried. "If you knew the truth, you'd never forgive me. You'd hate me forever." Her sobs shook her, but I felt nothing but a cold, growing fury. "You've already made that choice for me," I said, "by lying, by hiding him." "Please, Sam." She reached across the table, desperate. "Trust me, just a little longer." but trust was ash in my mouth. I pulled back, my jaw tight. No, I'm done with your secrets. If you won't tell me, I'll find out myself, and when I do, Evelyn, there will be no going back. Her tears fell harder, but she said nothing more. The silence that settled between us was thick, poisonous, final. As I left for the hospital, one thought burned hotter than the rest. She might be trying to protect the child, but nothing could protect her from the truth I was going to uncover. I couldn't shake her words. I'm protecting him. They replayed in my head like a broken record. Protecting him from what? From who? If Evelyn refused to give me answers, I would find them myself. Between surgeries and rounds, I began to dig. At first it was simple, searching her old social media accounts, sifting through digital traces she thought she'd erased. Evelyn wasn't careless, but she wasn't flawless either. Names surfaced, fragments of old conversations, photographs that hadn't been deleted properly. One name appeared again and again. Marcus Hale. The first time I saw his face, it was in a photo taken more than a decade ago. Evelyn, younger and radiant, standing beside him at some party. His arm was around her waist. She was smiling in a way I hadn't seen in years. Curiosity hardened into dread when I searched deeper. Marcus Hale had a record: assault, burglary, rumors of gang ties whispered in old articles. There were gaps too, stretches of time where he seemed to vanish only to reappear with fresh scars on his face and a darker reputation. What rattled me most wasn't his history. It was the fact that Evelyn had never mentioned him. Not once in all the years of our marriage. She had edited him out of her past as though he'd never existed. But he had. And if the baby wasn't mine, if she was hiding the child from me, then who else could it belong to? The thought made me sick. My wife keeping another man's child. And not just any man. A man with violence written into his history like a second skin. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe Marcus wasn't the father. Maybe Evelyn had her reasons. Something less damning, less destructive. But even as I searched for excuses, the pieces fell into place too neatly. Late one night, I sat in my car outside the hospital, the glow of the dashboard clock marking 1:13 a.m. I pulled up Marcus's record again, scrolling through charges, mugshots, addresses. One arrest from 5 years ago caught my eye. The location was only 2 miles from the rundown building where I had seen Evelyn cradling the baby. Coincidence? No, it was too close, too exact. I leaned back in the seat, my mind reeling. Was Evelyn still in contact with him? Was she keeping the child because he demanded it? Or worse, because she still loved him? The questions spiraled, each one heavier than the last. When I returned home, Evelyn was already asleep, her breathing slow and steady. I stood in the doorway watching her, a stranger in the bed we once shared. The woman I thought I knew had lied, hidden, deceived, and now I could no longer escape the truth. Evelyn's secret wasn't just a baby. It was a man who still cast a shadow over her life, and if Marcus Hale still had power over her, then he also had power over me. The name Marcus Hale had burned itself into my thoughts. Every time I looked at Evelyn, I saw the shadow of a man I'd never met but already despised. The questions gnawed at me until I couldn't keep them inside any longer. One evening, I confronted
her again. "Evelyn," I said, my voice low but firm. "I know about Marcus."
"I know you were with him before me, and I think he's connected to the baby you're hiding." She stiffened, then turned slowly, her eyes narrowing. For a moment, I saw fear flash across her face, but it vanished quickly, replaced with something colder. "You've been digging into my past?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Following me, spying on me? Sam, do you even hear yourself?" "I'm trying to get the truth," I snapped. "No," she said, her voice rising. "You're obsessed. You've been working yourself half to death at that hospital for years. You come home exhausted, distant, barely present, and now you think every late night, every errand, every word I say is a lie. Do you know how insane that sounds?" Her words hit like blows. She leaned forward, eyes burning, each sentence laced with accusation. "You weren't here when I needed you. You..." Weren't here when the loneliness crept in. And now you stand there acting like a victim, when all you've done is abandon me to this house, to this empty marriage. You don't want the truth. You want someone to blame for your own failures. I faltered. For a moment, doubt slid in. Had I been blind? Had my long shifts, my exhaustion, carved this distance between us? Was I inventing monsters in the dark because I couldn't face my own guilt? She softened suddenly, her voice breaking. Sam, I love you, but you're unraveling. You need rest. Please stop before you lose yourself. And us. Her tears fell, and part of me wanted to believe her, to accept her story, to let the storm inside me quiet. But then it came. A sound, soft, faint, drifting from upstairs. A baby's cry. I froze. The sound was unmistakable. Thin, plaintive, fragile. Evelyn's eyes widened and she shook her head quickly. It's nothing. You're imagining it. But the cry came again, louder this time, echoing through the stillness of the house. Turned toward the stairs, my chest tight, my breath shallow. Evelyn grabbed my arm, her grip desperate. Sam, please don't. Her denial cracked against the undeniable truth. The child was here, not in some apartment across town, not in a memory. Here, in our house, hidden within reach. The fog of doubt lifted in an instant, replaced by a cold, sharp certainty. Whatever lies Evelyn had spun, whatever game she played to twist my mind, the sound upstairs told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't losing my sanity. She was losing control of the truth. The cry haunted me for nights after. Sometimes it was faint, barely a whimper through the walls. Other times it rose sharp and thin, slicing through the silence until I sat up in bed, drenched in sweat, straining. To hear. Evelyn always denied it, pressing her hand to my chest, swearing I was dreaming. But my dreams had never left stains in the air like that. On a damp, wind-heavy night, the sound came again. Clear, urgent, drifting from above. The attic. I rose quietly, careful not to wake Evelyn. But when I turned, she was already awake, sitting upright, her face ghostly pale in the dim light. Sam, she whispered, voice trembling, don't go up there. Her warning only hardened my resolve. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step groaning beneath my weight. The air grew colder. As I reached the attic door, the silence pressing heavy around me. I opened it, flashlight in hand, the beam slicing through dust and shadow. The nursery looked just as I remembered. The crib, the bottles, the folded clothes. But this time, something was wrong. The sheets inside the crib were stained dark. First I thought it was shadow. Then the metallic scent hit me. Blood. I staggered back, my stomach twisting. The blanket was soaked, the crimson seeping into the soft fabric. No, baby. No sound now. Only the suffocating silence of a room that should not exist. Sam. Her voice came from the corner. I swung the light and saw Evelyn standing there, her arms wrapped around herself, shaking. Her eyes were wide, glassy, her lips parted as though caught mid-prayer. He's coming for us, she whispered. Her words chilled me deeper than the blood. Who? I demanded, stepping toward her. Her gaze flicked past me, as though expecting a figure to emerge from the shadows. You don't understand. I tried to keep him away. I thought I could protect us, but he knows. Evelyn, tell me who. My voice cracked with desperation. Is it Marcus? Is he the father? Is he threatening you? She shook her head violently, pressing her hands to her ears. Don't say his name. Don't. He'll hear you. The floor seemed to tilt beneath. Was she unraveling? Or was there truly someone watching us, moving closer every day? The flashlight trembled in my hand as I looked back at the blood-stained crib. My mind screamed for logic, for evidence, for anything to anchor me, but nothing fit. A baby that shouldn't exist. A wife who lied. Blood where life should have been. Evelyn stepped closer, her voice a broken whisper. Sam, it's too late. He won't stop. He wants what's his. Her words burrowed under my skin, and for the first time I felt something colder than suspicion. Fear. I reached for her, but she recoiled, clutching herself as though bracing for impact. The attic seemed smaller, the air suffocating. Somewhere, deep in the shadows, I thought I heard a floorboard creak. Whether it was real or imagined, I couldn't tell anymore. The night after the attic discovery, silence wrapped around the house like a shroud. Evelyn barely spoke, pacing the living room as though waiting for something inevitable. I tried to press her for answers, but she only muttered the same words. "He's coming." When the doorbell rang, sharp and echoing through the hall, both of us froze. I moved first. The porch light flicked on, revealing a tall, broad-shouldered man with cold eyes and a smirk that spoke of ownership, not courtesy. Marcus Hale. I'd seen his mugshot in old records, but in person he was more imposing, more dangerous. He didn't wait for an invitation. "Evening, Doc," he said, his voice low and deliberate. "I'm here for my son." Evelyn's breath hitched behind me. My chest tightened. "You need to leave," I said firmly, my hand gripping the door. Marcus leaned, his face close enough that I caught the scent of smoke and leather. "That baby upstairs, he's mine. You've got no right playing daddy." His words cut deep, every syllable meant to humiliate. Evelyn stepped forward, shaking her head. "Marcus, please, not like this." His gaze flicked to her, and for a moment, I saw something cruel spark in his eyes. "You think you can keep me from my blood? You think this little doctor can protect you?" The air snapped taut. My fists clenched, every instinct urging me to strike, but Evelyn's trembling hand caught my arm. "Don't," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Evelyn," I said through gritted teeth, "I'm calling the police." The shift was immediate. Marcus's smirk vanished, replaced with a hard, dangerous glare. "You do that, Doc, and the whole world will know what your precious wife did." I turned to Evelyn, stunned. "What is he talking about?" Her eyes filled with tears, her lips trembling as if the words were poison. "Samuel, please, don't. Call them. He has proof." Marcus leaned against the doorway, enjoying every second of her unraveling. "That's right. She thought she could bury it, but I've got the evidence. One phone call and she's finished. Jail, scandal, career gone." He tapped his pocket as if the secret lay waiting inside, heavy with threat. The living room seemed to close in on me. My wife, my home, my marriage, all poisoned by the man standing smugly at my door. And Evelyn, the woman I thought I knew, was now a stranger trembling in guilt and fear. "Tell me," I demanded, my voice shaking with rage. "What crime is he holding over you?" Evelyn's tears spilled freely. She opened her mouth, then closed it, unable to force the truth out. The silence was an answer in itself. Marcus chuckled darkly, satisfied. "See, she knows who really owns her. And by extension, Doc, that means I own you too." My hand tightened around the phone in my pocket, torn between rage and dread. And then, upstairs, the baby began to cry. The baby's cry echoed down the stairs like a final judgment. Marcus smirked, savoring the sound, before stepping back into the night. "You've got till tomorrow, Evelyn," he said, his voice a low growl. "Hand him over, or I'll hand over everything." The door clicked shut, leaving the house heavy with silence. Evelyn sank to the floor, her body trembling. I stared down at her, my chest tight, my pulse hammering. "What does he have on you?" My voice cracked, half fury, half desperation. "Tell me now, Evelyn. No more lies." Her eyes were red, her lips quivering. "You don't understand." I crouched beside her, gripping her shoulders. "Make me understand." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, with a shuddering breath, the words spilled out. "It was years ago, before you, before this life. I was with Marcus then. We were reckless, drunk most nights, running wild. One night, we were driving back from a bar. I begged him to slow down, but he laughed, he wouldn't listen. And then, her voice broke. She covered her mouth, sobbing into her hands. A girl. She stepped out into the road. We hit her. She didn't get back up. The room spun around me. I pulled back, my stomach twisting. A hit and run, you— I wanted to stop, she cried, her voice sharp with anguish. I screamed at him to pull over, but he wouldn't. He said it was her fault, that no one saw, that we'd be ruined if we stayed. And I didn't fight him hard enough. I let him drive away. My hands shook. The Evelyn I thought I knew, the polished, gentle woman, was dissolving before me into someone I barely recognized, and he's kept it ever since, she whispered. Every time I tried to leave him, every time I thought I was free, he reminded me. He threatened me with it. He owns me because of that night, and now, because of the baby. The words crashed into me like a wave. The baby, I repeated, my voice hollow. It's his. Her eyes filled with tears again. Yes, but Samuel, listen to me, it doesn't change what we had. I married you because I loved you. I still love you. He was a mistake I couldn't escape. But you were my choice. Her trembling hands reached for me, but I pulled back, my chest burning. Betrayal, grief, fury, they all fought for dominance inside me. You lied to me, I said, each word heavy. Every day, every night, our whole marriage, you let me believe a life that wasn't real. I was protecting you, she cried. I thought if I could keep the baby hidden, if I could manage Marcus, then you'd never have to know. I was trying to hold on to us. I stood, pacing, my mind reeling. Protecting me, or protecting herself? The walls of our home felt like a prison now, every memory poisoned. Finally, I turned back to her, my voice low, shaking. This isn't just about Marcus anymore. This is about you, about what you've done. And I don't know if I can forgive. You. Her sobs filled the room, but in the pit of my stomach, something darker was already forming. A plan. Sleep never came that night. I sat in the darkened living room, the silence broken only by Evelyn's muffled sobs upstairs. Her confession, replayed in my mind like a broken record. The girl on the road, the fleeing car, Marcus's laughter, her silence. Every image was a knife, every detail another cut into what I once believed we had. By morning, the decision had already formed inside me, heavy but unshakable. I was a doctor, sworn to protect life, to honor truth. Yet for years, I had been living in a home built on the bones of a lie, and lies like that don't stay buried. They rot everything they touch. When Evelyn came down the stairs, clutching a blanket though no chill lingered, her eyes searched mine, raw and pleading. Samuel, please, don't destroy us. We can still fix this. We can raise him. We can be a family. Her voice cracked on the word family. Once that word had been my anchor. Now it felt like a chain. I can't, I said softly. Not after what you told me. Not with Marcus holding your crime like a weapon. It will never end unless the truth comes out. Her face crumpled, and she dropped to her knees in front of me. If you tell them, Samuel, they won't just take Marcus. They'll take me too. I'll lose everything. You'll lose me. For a fleeting moment, I faltered. I thought of the nights we laughed in the kitchen, the quiet mornings when she slept against my shoulder. I thought of the woman I married, not the one trembling before me now. Was it possible they were the same? But then I remembered the blood on the crib sheets, the lies, the baby upstairs that wasn't mine, and the girl whose body had been left on a road years ago. Nameless, voiceless, forgotten. Justice had been denied once. I couldn't be the man who denied it again. By noon, I had spoken to the authorities. The confession Evelyn gave me was no longer just mine to carry. The evening sky was painted in red and gray when the squad cars pulled into our driveway. Neighbors peeked through curtains as officers stepped inside. Evelyn clutched the baby to her chest, her sobs shattering the stillness. Please. Samuel, she screamed as they led her toward the door. I loved you. Everything I did, it was for us. I stood motionless, my throat burning, my fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. Her words twisted like barbed wire, but I didn't move. I couldn't. On the porch, she turned one last time, her eyes wild, desperate. The child in her arms whimpered softly, innocent, unaware of the storm tearing through the adults around him. And then she was gone, swallowed by flashing lights and the closing of a car door. I remained in the doorway long after the sirens faded, staring into the empty street. My chest felt hollow, carved out by truth. Love can survive distance. It can survive hardship. It can even survive betrayal. But it cannot survive a lie so deep it becomes the foundation of everything. And when that lie is torn away, all that remains is ruin.